The last 911 call from room 307. Part 1. The hotel that shouldn't exist. Imagine driving through the Rocky Mountains on a freezing November night. Your GPS suddenly loses signal. The road ahead disappears beneath thick snow. No towns, no gas stations, no phone service. Just endless forest and silence. Then you notice a glowing sign through the fog, Pine Ridge Grand Hotel. The building looks old, very old. Warm lights shine from every window, smoke rises from the chimney. It feels like the safest place in the world, or so you think. Because 24 hours later, one guest will disappear without leaving behind a single footprint, and police will recover only one thing: a terrifying 911 recording from room 307. 8:40. Jacob Carter was 26 years old, a freelance photographer from Seattle. He spent most of his time traveling across America, taking pictures of abandoned places, old churches, forgotten railroads, ghost towns. His followers loved mystery. They loved places where history refused to die. That November, Jacob was driving through Montana after finishing a photo project. Heavy snow arrived much earlier than expected. The highway became almost invisible. His gas tank dropped below empty. His phone displayed no signal. The car heater struggled against the freezing air. Outside, snow covered everything. Jacob knew if he kept driving, he might not survive the night. Then he saw it. A large wooden sign covered in fresh snow, Pine Ridge Grand Hotel 1 mile ahead. Jacob smiled. Perfect. He turned off the highway, following a narrow road surrounded by tall pine trees. After several minutes, the hotel finally appeared. It looked strangely untouched. A beautiful 5-story building, large stone walls, golden lights, a massive clock tower. The parking lot contained only 3 vehicles: an old pickup truck, a black SUV, and a dusty police cruiser. Jacob frowned. A police car? Before he could think about it, the headlights illuminated something strange. Every window on the 4th floor was completely dark, while every other floor glowed warmly, almost as if that floor didn't exist. 9:15 p.m. Inside. The hotel felt surprisingly modern. Soft piano music echoed through the lobby. A warm fireplace crackled. Fresh coffee filled the air. Everything looked perfect. Too perfect. Behind the reception desk stood an elderly woman, perfectly dressed. Grey hair tied neatly behind her head. Her smile never changed. "Welcome to Pine Ridge Grand Hotel," Jacob asked. "Do you have any rooms available?" She stared at him for several seconds, longer than normal, then smiled again. "Yes, 1 room." She opened an old guest book, not a computer, a handwritten book. She slowly wrote his name, Jacob Carter, then handed him an old brass key. Room 307. Jacob thanked her. Before walking away, he noticed something odd. Every page in the guest book ended on room 307. No matter whose name appeared, the room number was always 307. He looked back. The receptionist had already lowered her head, quietly whispering something to herself. He couldn't understand the words. 9:40. Jacob entered the elevator. The buttons showed 1, 2, 3, 5. There was no 4th floor. He pressed 3. The elevator doors closed. Halfway up, the lights flickered. Then the elevator stopped. No movement, no sound. Jacob pressed every button. Nothing happened. Then, without warning, the display changed. Instead of showing numbers, it displayed 4. Jacob's stomach tightened. There isn't a 4th floor. The elevator doors slowly opened. Darkness, a cold hallway, no lights, no carpet, just cracked walls, covered with peeling wallpaper. A single room stood at the end. Its door read 307. Jacob stared in disbelief. This can't be right. Before he could step outside, the doors slammed shut. The elevator began moving again. A few seconds later, it stopped on the 3rd floor. The doors opened. This hallway looked completely normal. Bright lights, clean carpet, modern paintings. Room 307 stood directly in front of him, exactly where it should be. Jacob looked back at the elevator display. Now it showed 3, as if nothing had happened. 10:05 p.m. Room 307 looked ordinary. A king-size bed, a television, a desk, a bathroom, everything spotless. Jacob laughed nervously. Guess I'm just tired. He unpacked his camera, placed it on the desk, opened the curtains. Outside, snow continued falling. Then he noticed something impossible. Standing in the parking lot was the old police cruiser. Its headlights suddenly turned on, but nobody sat inside. Jacob watched silently. 30 seconds later, the headlights switched off again, on their own. He pulled the curtains shut. Maybe it was an electrical problem. Maybe. Then the room telephone rang. Once, twice, 3 times. Jacob answered. Hello? Only static. Then a woman's frightened voice whispered, Don't answer the knocking. The call disconnected. Jacob slowly lowered the receiver. His heart began beating faster. Outside, someone knocked on his door. 3 slow knocks. Knock, knock, knock. Jacob froze. He looked through the peephole. The hallway was completely empty. Yet the knocking continued. Knock, knock, knock. Slow, heavy, deliberate. Knock, knock, knock. Jacob kept staring through the peephole. The hallway was empty. No footsteps, no shadows, no sound except the knocking. His breathing became faster. He slowly unlocked the door, then stopped. Something didn't feel right. Instead, he opened it just a few inches. The hallway was silent, completely empty. The carpet stretched in both directions. Every light was on. Nothing. He stepped outside. Hello? No answer. Then the elevator bell rang. Ding, the doors slid open. No one stepped out. Jacob walked toward it. Inside the elevator, a single object rested on the floor. An old cassette tape. A white label covered in faded handwriting. It read, 911 call, room 307 1032. Jacob carried the tape back to his room. He searched every drawer. Nothing. No cassette player. But inside the closet, hidden beneath an extra blanket, he found an old portable tape recorder. Its batteries still worked. His hands trembled as he pressed play. Static filled the room. Then a frightened man spoke. This is Daniel. Please send someone. I think something is inside my room. A calm dispatcher answered. Sir, what's your location? Pine Ridge Grand Hotel, room 307, the dispatcher asked. What exactly do you see? Daniel whispered. My wife is knocking on the bathroom door. A pause, then his voice cracked. But my wife is asleep beside me. Jacob's blood ran cold. The recording continued. Slow knocking echoed in the background. Knock, knock, knock. The dispatcher spoke again. Sir, do not open the bathroom door. Daniel began crying. It knows my name. Then a woman's voice came through the recording. Soft, gentle, almost comforting. Daniel, open the door. I'm cold. Please let me in. The dispatcher shouted. Sir, whatever happens, do not open that door. The knocking stopped. Silence for almost 30 seconds. Then a loud crash. Daniel screamed. The phone hit the floor. Footsteps, heavy breathing. Then one final sentence, spoken in a voice That sounded exactly like Daniel's. I'm already inside. The tape ended. 11:05 p.m. Jacob sat frozen. His room suddenly felt colder, much colder. His breath became visible. The digital clock beside the bed began flashing. 3:07 again and again. No matter how many times he reset it, it always returned to 3:07 then. The bathroom faucet turned on by itself. Water rushed into the sink. Jacob grabbed his flashlight, slowly. He pushed the bathroom door open. Nothing, just an empty bathroom. The faucet stopped. As he turned to leave, he noticed something written on the mirror. Not with ink, not with paint, but from the steam. Don't fall asleep. Jacob stepped backward, his heart pounded. He wiped the mirror clean. The message disappeared for only a second. Then the words slowly reappeared, letter by letter, as if invisible fingers were writing them. 11:40 m. Jacob rushed downstairs. The lobby was empty. No music, no fireplace, no receptionist, only silence. The front doors wouldn't open. He pulled harder, locked, every window locked. He shouted, "Is anyone here?" A voice answered behind him. "You listen to the tape." Jacob spun around. The elderly receptionist stood in the darkness, still smiling, exactly the same smile. She quietly said, "No guest who hears that recording leaves before sunrise." Jacob demanded answers. "What happened in room 307? The old woman looked toward the ceiling, then whispered, "It wasn't room 307 that was haunted. It was the guest." Before Jacob could ask another question, every light in the lobby went out. Darkness swallowed the hotel. Somewhere above him, on the third floor, someone began running down the hallway, fast, very fast, toward room 307. The footsteps grew louder. Thump, thump, thump. They weren't walking. They were running, straight toward room 307. Jacob looked at the receptionist. She hadn't moved. Her smile remained frozen, almost as if she had been waiting for this moment. Then she quietly whispered, "Run." The hotel lights flickered back on. Jacob sprinted toward the staircase. He skipped steps 2 at a time. By the time he reached the third floor, the hallway was empty. No footsteps, no people, only silence. His room door was wide open. 12:08 a.m. Jacob slowly stepped inside. Everything looked normal except his suitcase was gone, his camera was missing. The bed had been made perfectly, as though no one had ever stayed there. Then he noticed the bathroom light. It was on. The door stood half open. Someone was humming a soft melody, an old lullaby. Jacob held his breath. "Who's there?" The humming stopped. No answer. He pushed the bathroom door open, empty. No one inside. But the mirror was covered with fresh handwriting. "It copies the living." Before he could react, the room phone rang. Jacob answered immediately. A man's voice whispered, "Don't trust anyone after midnight." The line went dead. Then another knock echoed from the main door. 3 slow knocks. Knock, knock, knock. Jacob looked through the peephole. His heart nearly stopped. Standing outside was Jacob. Same jacket, same face, same backpack. The man outside smiled, then softly said, "I forgot something." Jacob stumbled backward. The thing outside was him. 12:31 a.m. The fake Jacob knocked again, only this time its smile grew wider, too wide, far beyond what any human face could do. It leaned toward the peephole, as if it knew Jacob was watching. Then it spoke without moving its lips. "I know you're in there." The lights began flickering. Every bulb flashed at the same rhythm. On, off, on, off. Then everything went dark For exactly 5 seconds, when the lights returned, the fake Jacob was gone, but muddy footprints now led from the front door into the room. There were no footprints leading out. Whatever had been outside was now inside. 1:04 a.m. Jacob searched every corner, closet, bathroom, under the bed. Nothing. Then he heard breathing, slow, heavy, coming from above. He looked up. A ceiling ventilation grate was slightly open. Something moved behind it. 2 pale eyes watching him without blinking. Jacob grabbed a chair and climbed up. The eyes disappeared. He removed the metal grate. Inside the vent, he found an old leather wallet. It belonged to Daniel, the man from the 911 recording. Inside was a faded family photo. On the back, someone had written in black ink, "If you find this, it already knows your face." A folded map was hidden behind the photo. It showed the hotel's original blueprint. One section had been crossed out. Between the 3rd and 5th floors, a handwritten note pointed to it, the missing 4th floor. Suddenly, the room phone rang again. Jacob answered, only static. Then, his own voice came through the receiver, calm, cold, emotionless. "Don't go looking for me. I'm not the real Jacob anymore." The call ended. Jacob slowly lowered the phone. Outside the window, the snow had stopped. The parking lot was empty. Even the police cruiser had vanished. Then, the elevator bell echoed through the hallway. Ding! Its doors slid open by themselves. The display showed only one number, 4. Even though the hotel had no 4th floor, Jacob knew whatever answers he wanted were waiting there. He took one deep breath and stepped into the elevator. The doors closed. The elevator began to rise, not to the 3rd floor, not to the 5th, but to a place that should never have existed. The elevator climbed higher, slowly, silently. Jacob stared at the display. 3, then, instead of changing to 5, the screen flickered. A single number appeared. 4. The elevator stopped. The doors slid open. A blast of freezing air filled the cabin. Jacob stepped out. The hallway was nothing like the rest of the hotel. No carpet, no paintings, no lights. The wallpaper hung in long, rotten strips. Water dripped from the ceiling. The air smelled of mold. And something worse, something rotting. Every room number had been scratched away except one. At the end of the hallway, a rusted brass plate read 3:07. Jacob whispered, "This isn't possible." 1:47 a.m. As he walked forward and the hallway seemed to stretch, the farther he walked, the farther room 307 moved away. He looked behind him. The elevator was gone. Only a solid brick wall remained. His only way back had disappeared. Then, a child's laughter echoed through the darkness, soft, distant, followed by tiny footsteps. Jacob turned his flashlight toward the sound. Nothing, only dust floating in the air. Suddenly, every door along the hallway opened at the same time. Creak! Inside each room, someone was standing, perfectly still. A man, an old woman, a little girl, a police officer, a hotel maid. None of them had faces, just smooth, pale skin, no eyes, no mouth, no nose. They all slowly raised one arm and pointed toward room 307, 2:02 a.m. Jacob reached the final door. His hand trembled as he pushed it open. Inside, there was no hotel room. Instead, he found an enormous circular hall. Thousands of old suitcases were stacked from floor to ceiling. Each suitcase carried a name, a photograph, and a date. Jacob picked up one at random. Emily Rogers, missing January 12th, 1998. Inside were Emily's passport, her wedding ring, and a newspaper clipping about her disappearance. Another suitcase, another missing person. Another life. Frozen forever. Then Jacob saw one suitcase. That looked brand new. The tag read, Jacob Carter, November 18th tonight. His blood turned cold. He slowly opened it. Inside was his camera, his wallet, his car keys, even the jacket he was wearing, folded neatly inside, as if he had already disappeared. 2:10 a.m. A voice echoed behind him. You were expected. Jacob turned slowly. An elderly hotel manager stood in the shadows, black uniform, silver buttons, perfect white gloves. His face looked strangely familiar. Then Jacob realized why. It was the same man. From the old police photograph hanging in the lobby, a manager who had supposedly died 30 years earlier. The old man smiled. We don't choose our guests. They choose themselves. Jacob demanded, What are you? The old man ignored the question. Instead, he pointed toward a massive wooden wall. Hundreds, no, thousands of photographs covered it. Every missing guest, every unexplained disappearance, every person who had vanished near Pine Ridge Hotel. Then, Jacob noticed 3 empty picture frames. The brass nameplates beneath them had already been engraved. Jacob Carter, check-in, 9:15 p.m. Check-out, never. His breathing stopped. The manager took one slow step closer, then another. You heard the 911 call. Now, it's your turn to make it. Suddenly, an old telephone sitting on a wooden desk began to ring. Ring, ring, ring. The manager smiled wider. Answer it. Jacob slowly lifted the receiver. A frightened voice whispered from the other end. It was his own voice, from only a few minutes in the future. Jacob, whatever happens, don't let it copy you. Then the line went dead. Behind him, someone quietly whispered, Too late. Jacob turned around. Standing in the doorway was another Jacob, smiling, not blinking. And this time, it stepped into the room. The real Jacob wasn't alone anymore. His double had finally found him. The copy smiled. It didn't blink. It didn't breathe. It simply stood there, watching Jacob. Then it spoke. You're tired now. You don't belong out there anymore. You belong here. Jacob backed away. The hotel manager never moved. He simply watched, as if this had happened thousands of times before. Then the manager quietly said, There can only be one guest who leaves. The copy took another step forward. So let me leave. 2:11 a.m. Jacob ran. He grabbed the nearest suitcase and threw it. It smashed into the copy. For the first time, the creature stumbled. The suitcase burst open. Photographs scattered across the floor. Jacob froze. Every photo showed the same thing. Different people, different years, different faces, standing beside their own doubles. Each picture had only one person circled in red, the one who survived. Jacob suddenly understood. The hotel never killed anyone. The copies replaced them. The real guests never left. 2:12 a.m. The fake, Jacob charged. Its face twisted unnaturally. Bones cracked beneath its skin. Its smile stretched from ear to ear. Its eyes turned completely black. Jacob ran through the endless hall. Suitcases crashed behind him. The creature followed silently. No footsteps, no breathing, only that horrible smile. He reached the hallway. The elevator doors were open. For the first time, he saw the number changing. 4, 3. The doors began closing. Jacob sprinted. The copy grabbed his jacket. He ripped free, jumped inside. The doors slammed shut. At the last second, a pale hand slipped between them. The elevator stopped. The lights died. Darkness. Then the emergency light flickered on. The pale hand slowly withdrew. The elevator continued downward. 2:13 a.m. The doors opened into the lobby. Everything looked normal. The fireplace burned brightly. Soft piano music played again. The receptionist smiled. As always. You made your choice. Jacob ignored her. He ran outside. The front doors opened without resistance. Snow covered the ground. His car was exactly where he had parked it. He drove away, without looking back. In the rearview mirror, the hotel lights slowly disappeared into the fog. 9:30 a.m. Jacob reached the nearest town, exhausted, shaking, barely able to speak. He walked into the sheriff's office. "I need to report a hotel." The sheriff looked confused. "What hotel?" "Pine Ridge Grand Hotel." Silence filled the room. The sheriff slowly opened an old filing cabinet. He removed a yellowed newspaper. The headline read, "Luxury Mountain Hotel, Destroyed by Fire. 1986. 27 guests missing. No bodies recovered." Jacob stared at the photo. It was Pine Ridge Grand Hotel, completely burned to the ground 40 years ago. "There hasn't been a hotel there," the sheriff whispered, "for decades." 1 week later, police searched the mountain. They found only ruins, collapsed stone walls, broken foundations, rusted elevator doors, nothing more. No furniture, no guest rooms, no lobby, no room 307. The only thing recovered was Jacob's video camera. Its battery should have been dead, but it was still recording. Detectives watched the footage. Jacob appeared normal until the final 30 seconds. He looked directly into the camera, smiled, then quietly said, "I never escaped." The screen filled with static. For one frame, just one, the real Jacob could be seen, trapped behind a hotel window, banging desperately on the glass, while the smiling Jacob walked away from the building. Police enhanced the footage. The window disappeared, but one detail remained behind the smiling Jacob. A guest register sat on the reception desk. A new name had been written. Next guest reservation confirmed. No name, no date, just one room number 307. And according to an old legend, if you ever lose your way in the Rocky Mountains on a freezing winter night and you see a hotel glowing through the fog, keep driving, because if they hand you the key to room 307, someone else may already be wearing your face.